Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and now that we are coming to the end of the Call of the Arbiter series, I wanted to take a look at some of the data like we do here on the channel every week or two and talk about the current state of the game and the community and some of the numbers behind everything like the web velocity and the volume of traffic, and look back on if the Call of the Arbiter series was a good thing for Plarium and Raid Shadow Legends, or if it bombed or whatever, and just give you all of the context that I can here surrounding Raid in its current state after Call of the Arbiter. Let's get into it. Alrighty, now by the way, the code for episode 10, if you have not put it in yet on the last episode, is going to be United, UNITED. You confirm that, and then you will get some of the rewards over here, the energy and the epic book and the silver. But okay, first of all, let's go through the official Raid Shadow Legends channel over here that Plarium runs, and let's see what kind of numbers these episodes were putting up. So if we go back to the start of the actual series for like the first couple episodes, that'll give us a barometer to compare off of. And we can see right here that the Call of the Arbiter trailer, the teaser they put out about 4 months ago, got 1 million views. And then up here in the top left, you can see we've got episode 1, which is always going to be the most watched episode. It's kind of like the pilot. It's the thing that everyone wants to check out. Episode 1 of a series is always going to be the most watched thing. It would be like episode 1 or the finale, like the Game of Thrones finale is going to be something that gets a ton of viewership. So if a show is super successful, you'll see the finale do extremely well. But obviously it's not rocket science that with any series, your most watched is going to typically be episode 1. And we're seeing that here with Raid. That thing's going to end up topping 4 million views for episode 1 of Call of the Arbiter. So that's honestly pretty good. And it was definitely a good sign when we saw here on the right that the official trailer number 2 actually got more views than official trailer number 1, the first one they released. So that means that it really has some interest and it's actually gaining in popularity, which is super surprising for the second trailer to get more views than the first one. And it went from 3.9 million to 2.5 to 2. So it was trickling off a little bit. 1.8. Yeah, it's slowly kind of falling off, which is to be expected. 1.7 for episode 5 once it was halfway through. Episode 6 at 1.5. Episode 7 at 1.4. But also they've been out for a less duration of time. So it's not surprising that they're lower as well. But honestly, it held on pretty good. And then for episode 9, it was still at 1 million. And then for the finale, it's approaching 500K here pretty soon. It's only been out for 1 day. It will probably hit 1 million here for the finale. Sometimes you'll see people that watch like episode 1 or a couple of the first episodes, then they'll just skip to the finale. So sometimes you'll see the finale do a little bit better than episodes 8 or 9 are even going to do. So I expect that episode 10 will hit 1 million. So that's pretty good that every single episode hit 1 million, and a few of them are in the multiple millions in terms of viewership. And I would say it seems like to me that the community in general was receiving the show and the episodes pretty positively, but the one pretty consistent criticism is that they seem really short. Some of them are like 5-6 minutes. It would have been nice if these were at least like 15 minutes or so, just to really flesh out some of the character development and tell a little bit of the lore, because it feels a little bit rushed when an episode is 5 or 6 minutes. So that was definitely a criticism for the show. We all wish they would have been a little bit longer. But then let's talk about the actual full landscape of Raid and how it ended up functioning within that marketplace. So right here, we've got the chart comparing in the blue Call of the Arbiter web velocity versus the red, which is just Raid Shadow Legends, the main game and the main kind of phrase there that people search. So what we've got here is back in May, we saw the Call of the Arbiter series launch, and it was about, I don't know, 15% as popular as Raid. That's a pretty decent conversion rate. Raid is a massive game with lots of traffic, or at least lots of interest. Maybe not what it was 3 years ago, but honestly it's maintained. I'll show you the full kind of line here in a little bit. It has maintained pretty decently, so not a bad launch there for the show. And even when it ended here, it stayed about that same kind of gap in between of about 15% as popular as Raid. But the thing is, with Raid, it doesn't look like it really benefited the game. It doesn't look like there was some sort of massive conversion of new players, which is what a game like Raid is going to be interested in. They want to constantly keep adding people to the community and bringing new people in that are trying the game. And it looks like, if anything, they just kind of maintained. But during the time of year that we're in right now, during the summer, maintaining is probably pretty good, because I think in most years, Raid has dipped a little bit in the summer and then started to ramp up around like November and December as we get into the winter. as you can see, if I tab on over, this is the full chart of Raid Shadow Legends, and honestly, this is pretty impressive. Most games do not do this. Most games have a launch that is super hype. Let me get my pen out here real quick. Okay, there we go. So what happens with most games is they'll have a chart that looks something like this. They'll have like a beta that spikes up, and then the game dies, and then when the game releases, it does this, and then it kind of dies fast, and then slowly whittles off to its player base, which usually settles around somewhere a little bit below what the beta was. And I've kind of used this as a point of reference before in my videos, is that I think Raid is one of the last video games that we're gonna see have the arc that Raid had, because it's a big, popular game with really good aesthetics, and it's very robust compared to its competition in the marketplace, but it had a fairly natural and slow growth where it was kind of like in its cocoon, prospering into what it became. And nowadays, before games are even released, they've got like 1 million websites and all sorts of tools out there, and 1 million content creators and 500 tier lists. So I don't know that we're ever going to see a release like Raid again, because any game that comes out that can compete with Raid aesthetically and with the kind of budget that Raid has, with like the marketing and the aesthetics going into the game, any game that comes out like that is gonna have a massive launch, because you'll have all sorts of content creators talking about it. It'll have a lot of traction in the gaming community, and it will have millions of people trying it day one, and then it will have more of a graph like this where everyone tries it, especially if it's free. Everyone tries it, and then it dies off super fast. But Raid, like, I remember when Raid came out, like, I remember when I was looking for picking a starting champion, and I was going around the internet looking for content to help me choose my starting hero out of the 4 choices of Gaelic and Ethel and Elaine and Kayle, and I literally couldn't find anything. There was no YouTube content. There was nothing on Reddit. There was no website. There was nothing. We were all just blind when Raid came out, and that is never going to happen again. If a new game comes out the caliber of Raid, and you're wondering what the best starting champion is, you'll probably be able to find something over like 55,000 results on getting some input on that subject. So it's very interesting, the shift that has happened in the last 5 years since Raid has come out. But anyway, I say all of that to kind of lay the foundation for my point here, is that I don't think we're ever going to see a game like this. This is pretty impressive. So Raid hit its peak in January of 2020, which was not super surprising. That's kind of like right at the start when everyone was starting to kind of lock down a little bit, and all of that was at its peak. So people were indoors a little bit more, and it's in the winter. So you have everything kind of culminating in people having more time to game and maybe looking for something to do from home and download the Raid app. And so you see right here during that period was kind of a peak for Raid. And then after that peak, the game kind of fell down a little bit. But since then, the last 2 or 3 years or so, if anything, the trend has been going like this. And that is super impressive for a game to maintain. That is very, very rare. Like I said, most of the charts are going to look like this, where they really dive down from their peak and they can't really maintain or grow over time. But let me clear that, because there's also something else I want to talk about right here, and that is usually during the summer there's a little bit of a dip in popularity. So I wonder if Call of the Arbiter helped mitigate this a little bit or not. So what you can see right here is, like right here, this is June and July, and the game kind of dips down a little bit. So let me go ahead and draw that right there. So this was a summer right here, the game kind of goes down a little bit, and then this was a summer right here, game goes down a little bit. And then this right here was a summer, and then right now we're coming up on a summer, and it's probably going to go down a little bit. So you can see kind of a trend is that when the weather is nicer outside, when it's warmer, people are taking vacations, people are out and about during the summer, sometimes the game dips a little bit, and then once we ramp up into colder weather and the end of the year and the holiday season, the game starts to gain a little bit of traction. So I expect the same thing to kind of happen this year, is that this chart will look something like this, and then kind of spike up and do something like that as we ramp into the winter and then into next summer. So did the Call of the Arbiter series help Raid? Well, we can see last July, Raid was at a 71, and then right now it's at about a 70. It's about exactly the same. So it's hard to say if Call of the Arbiter had a noticeable impact. Honestly, it probably didn't, because I feel like Call of the Arbiter is more of a community nurturing thing to keep people hyped up and have something fun going on within the current Raid community, as opposed to bringing in someone new to play the game. I'm just thinking like anecdotally for myself, I don't think I would really care to watch a series randomly of a game that I've never really played. Maybe I would, I don't know. It's hard to say, but my odds of like randomly stumbling across YouTube and watching some series for some random game I have no vested interest in, probably not. But it looks like it definitely didn't hurt, but I don't think we can say that it like massively helped grow the raid community or anything, which makes me wonder a little bit. I wonder what the second half of the year big promotion is going to be. They did like the login thing for Ninja, the streamer. They did the promotion with the MMA and Ronda Rousey and all that to try and reach a new market. So they've definitely got something up their sleeve after the Call of the Arbiter series for the second half of 2023. And it makes me wonder, are they going to go like the celebrity route, the streamer route, or what they're going to be trying to do to hype up the game as we come into the holiday season in 2023. But yeah, all in all, I would say that Call of the Arbiter was definitely a success in general. Maybe I'll host a poll over on the community tab here of the channel, but I'm going to guess if I just ask a general question to the community, like, was your overall opinion of the Call of the Arbiter series positive or negative? It would probably be like 70-something% positive and 20-something% negative. I feel like overall ended up being a net positive for the community, and they did a pretty good job on it. It's just the episodes were a little bit short, and we can't really tell from the data if it had a noticeable effect on increasing the community, but it definitely didn't hurt. So let me know your thoughts down below, and I will go host that poll over on the community tab if you would like to cast your vote, and it would mean a lot to earn your subscription today if you enjoy daily Raid Shadow Legends content. I'll see you soon in the next video. Thanks. Peace.